Thanks for joining me today, and congratulations on making it up the stairs. That was the first challenge. So today I'm going to look at and discuss liquid staking on Gnosis. I'll first touch upon what the landscape has looked like for the past couple of years, and then specifically looking what you can do when we launch Stakewise v3. And it's going live imminently. It's currently in the final stages of audits, so hoping to go live early June. So first off, what is Stakewise? So Stakewise has been live on Gnosis since early 2022. It was the first non-custodial liquid staking solution on Ethereum. It launched in 21, and so we deployed it also on Gnosis in 22. And the goal of Stakewise, as it currently stands on Gnosis, is to completely reduce the barriers to entry for anyone to earn a yield or effectively stake their GNO. So we have a large staking pool. Anyone can stake their assets into that pool. There's no minimum staking amount. And so it reduces the economic barriers to staking. Albeit on Gnosis, that's not a massive thing, but it also reduces the technical barriers to staking. We have 3 commercial node operators, Crypto Manufacture, ourselves, Stakewise Labs, and Fanoa, who then stake the capital on our users' behalves. But it's not just that, it's also a liquid staking solution. I'm sure everyone's familiar with liquid staking right now, but there's a bit of a nuance with Stakewise as it currently exists on Gnosis, and that is the dual token model which we have in place. So effectively, when you stake into the pool, you receive SGNO, that is the main liquid staking token, and that represents the staked principal, and then all the rewards accrue in RGNO. Both of these tokens are effectively soft-pegged one-to-one with GNO. And obviously, as a liquid staking protocol, you can then, this has been super valuable before withdrawals were enabled on Gnosis to allow people to exit liquidity. Obviously, withdrawals are now enabled, but it still allows people to go and access DeFi with their staked capital. So having these liquid staking tokens are still incredibly valuable. And so this solution has been live now for 2 years, and it was incredibly successful. It was actually arguably too successful. We had about 40% of the staked GNO delegated to Stakewise at one point, which, as we all know, can be problematic. And so we actually decided alongside the Gnosis Foundation to stop spinning up validators. And so today, we haven't spun up a validator that I'm aware of for over a year now. We still have about 75,000 GNO staked with us, and thankfully that is no longer 40%. It is around 33%. It's still very close to certainly the maximum we want it to be at this point. But of that 75,000, only about half of it is staked. And so actually one of the consequences of not spinning up these validators is that the staking yield is currently about half of what it should be on Stakewise. And the trade-off there is that the users get the LSTs. Now, it's not a perfect fit right now. We need to fix things. And so this is where Stakewise v3 comes in. So a quick introduction to Stakewise v3. So whereas the current version of Stakewise, arguably v2, is a single staking pool with a permissioned node operator set, the best way to think about Stakewise v3 is that we've completely white-labeled all of our smart contract infrastructure to allow any entity to offer their own staking as a service. So we currently have our staking pool, but when v3 goes live, we will allow anybody to set up their own staking pool in a fully permissionless fashion. And this is the layer we call vaults. Each staking pool is a vault. And these vaults, these smart contracts, essentially allow anyone to offer non-custodial, trustless GNO staking. And they also automate pretty much everything to do with GNO staking, other than actually running the validators themselves. So these vaults can accept GNO in any size, they pool the capital, they automatically register validators, they automatically exit validators, they handle the fee distribution from the staking rewards to the node operators. It's a very complete package solution. It also has other features like tokenization, so you can launch your own LST if you really wanted to go down that route. It has auto-compounding, you can make them public or private. They're very flexible tools, and that is exactly the phrase we use actually internally. They're a toolkit. we have node operators on the Ethereum side who have been offering staking for years, but when V3 went live, they have moved completely over to running their staking operations within the Vaults architecture, because it just helps streamline their processes. And the best part about it actually is that we don't charge for this part of the protocol. The Vaults architecture is completely free to use. We see it as a public good. And actually, a good analogy is we see Vaults almost as like the Gnosis safe for staking, which is very relevant here today. So that's Vaults. And what's important to mention is that each Vault is fully isolated. They're unique smart contracts. They're completely unique staking pools. And under the hood, we are very flexible on what the node configuration looks like. And I'll go into that in a little bit further shortly. But we're still a liquid staking protocol when V3 goes live. And we'll be launching a new LST called OSGNO, Over-Collateralized Staked GNO. A bit of a mouthful, but it is what it is. But it's the same liquid staking token which sits on top of the entire Vaults ecosystem. And what it means is that anybody who stakes into a pool that's deployed on Stakewise can make their stake liquid. Now, there's going to be a subset of node operators that we have effectively permissioned as Stakewise DAO, and whenever they are running in a vault, they will allow users to mint the token one-to-one, 100% capital efficiency. There will be then another subset of vaults, which are the fully permissionless vaults, where we are implementing a maximum minting cap on OSGNO at 90%. So what does that mean in practice? It means that any node operator can come to Stakewise, deploy a vault, offer staking as a service to their friends, their clients, whatever you want to call them, and those users will be able to access OSGNO. If I stake, let's say, 10 GNO into one of these staking pools, I will then be able to mint 9 OSGNO to make it liquid. We don't require any bonding or collateral from node operators, and so in order to protect against malicious actors, slashing, etc., it is that 10% capital buffer in the OSGNO over-collateralization that provides that protection. And the most important thing about this token is that we, as Stakewise, in partnership with Karpathy and the other key partners in the Gnosis network, will be helping provide the liquidity and provide the integrations for this token. So in short, Stakewise v3 provides the toolkit for anyone to offer trustless, non-custodial staking, and we also have a ready-made liquid staking ecosystem through OSGNO for their users to access. It's a really powerful protocol. It's been live on ETH now for several months, and yeah, there's some really interesting use cases for this, which I'll also come on to. So just quickly looking at what the transition from Stakewise as it currently stands on Gnosis to v3, and it's actually very simple. It is purely an accounting transition, a swap from the existing tokens to the new token. There is nothing going on under the hood in terms of all the validators will remain staked in the current, and they'll essentially migrate over to the staking pool or vault, which will then be on Stakewise v3. So the current staking pool will become the first vault on Stakewise v3. Again, there's no actually unstaking and staking going on here. It is purely an accounting transition. And during the migration, users will be able to swap their OSGNO and SGNO and RGNO for their true value, i.e. one-to-one with GNO, into OSGNO. And during that process, the S and R tokens will be burned, and they will ultimately be made redundant eventually when everyone has migrated. It will be a manual migration process. We can't just take people's tokens and do it for them. But if users don't migrate straight away, it's not the end of the world. Your SGNO, if you hold SGNO, you'll continue earning staking rewards just like you are today. But if you want to either withdraw or access the v3 ecosystem, then you'll need to go through this transition step. But the transition on Ethereum went through very smoothly. It shouldn't be a problem. So, yeah, famous last words. So what does Stakewise v3 actually bring to Gnosis? Now, firstly, withdrawals. We are very conscious that Gnosis network enabled withdrawals several months ago now, and our users have had to put up with secondary market liquidity for exiting. This is not ideal, and we are very appreciative of our community standing by us whilst we get the development done for enabling true withdrawals. And so just after migrating, users will have the chance to submit their OSGNO for unstaking natively. There will obviously be a short queue based on the withdrawal queue from the network, but fundamentally, it would now be a fully functioning staking solution, including withdrawals. There will also, the simple one-click staking solution will remain in place. So as I mentioned, the current Stakewise pool will become Genesis Vault, effectively one of the vaults, and that will remain in place. And it allows that simple one-click staking from GNO into OSGNO, where users don't want to have to run their own infrastructure, etc. So that is going to remain in place. But the next two slides are really where the V3 kind of comes alive. And the next one is we're going to enable a whole new ecosystem of staking businesses. We have, on Ethereum, loads of different entities that have now launched staking solutions through Stakewise. Node operators are the obvious choice here. But it is much more than just node operators. It can be wallets, custodians, exchanges, etc. As mentioned on the slide, that any entity that wants to offer staking as a service can now do it. If you're a wallet, for example, so on ETH we have a wallet that's launching their own LST. They've partnered with a commercial operator. You still need to have a node operator staking the capital on your behalf. But this wallet is able to launch their own staking pool, connect their node operator, and have the whole solution pretty much run automatically for their wallet. And so it's going to enable wallets to offer true native pooled and/or liquid staking to their users on Gnosis chain. And the same goes for custodians and exchanges. These solutions tend to be a little bit more, well, they are more regulated, and this is where the private vault functionality really comes in handy. So for example, on mainnet, we have exchanges that are launching a private vault where only their hot wallets are whitelisted, are allowed to stake. This makes sure they can keep all the capital in the staking solution completely ring-fenced. It's only their users' capital that is staked. And that still allows them to offer this staking solution in a regulatory compliant manner. And on the custodian side, we have custodians who are doing a similar thing, but we also can go one step further and offer private pools on a per-client basis. And so if you really need to cater towards very strict institutions who cannot be commingling assets, then again, you can still use a vaults architecture, but just do it on a per-client basis. And even though there might be just one client staked in a pool, they can still access the LST if they want to. The other one on that list is DeFi projects. We've got a protocol on Ethereum who's launching a solution, and it's hoping to go live in the next couple of weeks, and it will have about 200 node operators from day one. This is a really cool solution, and the majority of those node operators are solo stakers as well. They're actually Rocket Pool node operators that have created their own little staking syndicate, so to speak, and they'll be launching a DeFi, one of these DeFi protocols' own LST in a few weeks' time. I mention this because it really shows how flexible the vaults can be with the node configuration under the hood. As I mentioned, that one has hundreds of node operators. We have other solutions that have SSV, DVT, SSV and OBAL, the DVT technologies, work out of the box with Stakewise. The smart contracts are completely flexible on the node configuration under the hood. And so it can lead to some really interesting staking configurations. And as I said, open up a whole new ecosystem of businesses offering staking as a service on Gnosis. The last use case is, I would argue, the best. And this is liquid solo staking. It's a narrative that really hasn't caught on yet on Ethereum. But I think Gnosis stands to be a really strong network to pioneer this idea. And it's quite simple. You have solo stakers who make up a significant portion of the Gnosis network. But because they decide to stake on their own nodes and not use a liquid staking solution, they miss out on all the benefits of liquid staking. That's not right. They are the gold standard for decentralization. They should get all the benefits that that anyone using a liquid staking solution gets. And this is what Stakewise v3 provides. So what does it look like? I'm a solo staker. what I will do is I will create a private vault and connect my node to this private vault. So it's my pool, it's my node, and I will stake my GNO onto my node just like I do currently. I will deposit it into the vault, and behind the scenes, I'll be running the Stakewise operator service, and that will automatically register the validators. I remain in full control of my staked capital, but because I have done it through a Stakewise vault, I will then be able to mint OSGNO. It will be at 90%, but what it does mean is that I could be leverage staking. I can go from ETH to from GNO to OSGNO, take that onto Aave, borrow more GNO, and leverage stake if I really wanted to go down that route. Or I could just use my stake capital to borrow stables or what have you. It really opens up this entire DeFi ecosystem for solo stakers. And we have a package that's going live on DappNode imminently. So again, trying to reduce the barriers to entry, but also on the node operator side as well. So that's essentially everything. As I mentioned, the audits are very, very nearly complete. We've already done one audit. We're just finalizing one more to make sure it is absolutely airtight. But yeah, we are, and in the process, we're already lining up liquidity for OSGNO, integrations for OSGNO, like Aave, Spark, the main protocols that are on Gnosis at the moment will have this token onboarded in a, fingers crossed, a pretty timely manner. And so, yeah, we're going to have this pretty cool ecosystem already built out. And as I mentioned, that liquid solo staking part, whilst we have a lot of business partners that want to be launching their own businesses through Stakewise V3, I think we are going to make a very concerted effort to push and encourage, obviously, more solo staker participation, but also liquid solo staking as well. A couple of links there to stay up to date. But yeah, it should be going live pretty damn soon. And yeah, if you don't hear about it, then we're not doing our job properly. We should be shouting about it. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordan, to very detailed presentation. We have time for a couple of questions. Yeah, please.
There is a maximum of 90% that you can make liquid. But that 90%, 10% seems arbitrary to me. So what is it based on? And could it be customized in the future depending on the risk of the type of staker? And then who would need to customize it? Who would need to decide on it?
Sure. Yeah, so it's not arbitrary. So the 10% originally comes from Ethereum, and the slashing risks, so the average slashing loss on Ethereum right now is about 1.1 Ether. Obviously, you can have correlated slashings, etc., but they're rare, have never happened in scale. And so that 10% capital buffer is enough to protect against those slashing losses. When V3 originally went live on Ethereum, it was just 90% LTV on every single vault. We are going to tweak that, though, so there is some vaults that have 100%, just to kind of make the whole user experience for retail stakers who want a one-click stake, make it much more efficient. But because we have done effectively the development work to make some vaults 100% and others 90%, it does allow us in the future to be much more flexible in what effectively what LTV different vaults can have. The problem is that it's very hard to, in a way that we don't KYC users, to keep a system that is fully permissionless, whilst actually being able to say, okay, this node is not malicious, or this node is running XYZ clients, maybe DVT technology, their chances of slashing are reduced. It's actually impossible to do that technically right now. And so we have the framework in place that we can become much more, I would like to say, inclusive to permissionless node operators, and allowing them to increase their ability to use like borrow OSGNO effectively. But as it currently stands, it's a technical limitation that's kind of stopping us from allowing us to do that, basically.
Yeah.
Will there be some interest you have to pay if you mint OS GNO?
Yes, there will be, and that's the one bit I forgot to mention. So As I mentioned, on the Vault side, we don't charge a stake-wise. It is purely the node operators or whoever launches that solution that decides the staking fee and ultimately how it's split. So for example, let's say you're a wallet. You can say, I want to charge my stakers 10%. Half of that goes to the wallet, half of that goes to the node operators. You can split the fee on that Vault level however you please, but ultimately, stake-wise doesn't take any cut from that. Where we do charge is on the liquid staking layer only. And the way it works is we basically charge on Ethereum it's 5%, on Gnosis it's TBD, but it's probably going to be the same. 5% of the staking rewards of the OSGNO token. So it's basically like an interest rate on how much OSGNO a user has minted. Depending on how you stake in this platform, like the liquid token is actually a completely optional layer. And so a node operator could offer staking as a service to users who don't want liquid staking, but they can still do it in vaults for free and run that completely without charge. And their stakers would just pay the fees that the node operator sets. It's only when they decide to mint OSGNO that they would then start paying those OSGNO fees. And on Ethereum, I keep using Ethereum as an example because it's been live for some time now. We have about 100,000 Ether staked overall, but there's only about 35K Ether's worth of ETH minted. And so, 60-odd% of our users are, just natively staking, and they're happy to do that. And this is a theme we've seen across DeFi. Like, most of the LSTs in the space, are not used in their majority. They are just a form of, they're just an accounting method in a user's wallet. And so we made it a deliberate effort to make sure that users can abstract that layer away and not pay those fees unless they actually want to liquid stake.
Thank you, Jordan. We are going to... OK. We are going to next talk.
All good?
Thank you for the participation.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
OK.